Hello, I'm Joyanne Haig. Welcome to Face It and Fix It. We had a great first day on Monday, and even though things did not go to plan, we learned quite a lot from our guests, Dr. Greenidge, Government's Economic Advisor, and Mrs. Caesar from the Caribbean Meteorology and Hydrology Institute. Certainly had some revelations about the possibility of a vortex causing some damage. That freak storm had us in shock, really and truly, because we've never seen anything like that before. So if you missed it, you missed that show, you can still pull it up on our Facebook page at CBC Barbados. And of course, we know we are also on YouTube, same address at CBC Barbados. Today is a new day with more concerns and questions, and we'd like to hear from you. What's on your mind? There's so many concerns and questions and issues that people are facing. And this is why we have this show. People are finding it very difficult to resolve some of these issues, and we are here to bring the agencies on this show together with you in an effort for them to face it and fix it. But if you can't get them to do that because they may have some challenges, at least we can ask them to point you in the right direction. So welcome to our viewers and our listeners to Face It and Fix It. We are on CBC TV 8, Facebook, YouTube, and of course, if you're driving in your car, if you're in the office and you can't watch us on TV or on social media, you can find us on Q100.7 FM. Now, last Monday we had some challenges with our delay button and we did not have some callers, but we certainly had our interviews. But today we are waiting for you to call 228-5562 or 228-5563, or you can send us a WhatsApp at 228-5562, message only, or post your questions and concerns on our Facebook page at CBC Barbados. I can tell you we had a number of questions coming in before, some pre-show questions, so we're going to put some of those up on the screen. But this show is about you and your concerns, so please do call us. Let us know what's happening with you, what's happening with your neighbor, with the agencies. If you're having any problems, we're looking forward to hearing from you. We'll be back after the break. Now, some of you may remember last year, I believe it was around July 4th, a young man lost his life in the Pine area when he fell into a well. Unfortunately, he did not make it, and it caused a lot of questions and concerns about the wells across this country. Now, recently, we saw some video circulating, making its rounds on social media about this 100-foot well, about 100 feet in, I believe, the St. Philip area. Now, we want to introduce to you a new campaign through this show where we're going to ask you to find the wells in your area. I'm not asking you to go right up to the well, but certainly you may have a well in your area that you may know about. It may be next door, it may be in your backyard. So we're going to run a little campaign where we're going to ask our viewers and our listeners, if you're interested, there's going to be some prizes for you for making the effort. But again, you have to do it in a safe manner, but we will talk about that later on in another show. But we do want to discuss the wells and the drainage situation in this country. But before we do, and we do have our guest, Mr. Charles Yearwood from the Drainage Unit. He's the head of the Drainage Unit. We want to show you this video that's making its rounds on social media with this 100-foot well. All right, so if you can see the individual, because we obviously edited his voice, and apparently he's in a grassed area a couple of 2 feet away from the road, and they're actually clearing this area for the bush, and this is what he stumbled across. And thank God that he was able to see it in time. Look at the sharp edges going down there, and he described it to be about 100 feet down. Now this is in an open area a couple of feet away from a road. So imagine, and most of you guys may know this, if you are driving and nature calls and you want to go into a bush area, this can happen. And we certainly want for all Barbadians to at least share that information with the various agencies responsible, in this case maybe MTW and of course the Drainage Unit. And we're not only talking about wells, we have drains in this country that are not secured. There are people walking on sidewalks and the rails are not secured. I can tell you from a personal experience on Hastings, I was making my way from a bar, and it was a Sunday evening, and it was a deep drain, and my car dropped right into it. And I had to call all kinds of people to help me. In the end, someone had to actually pull me out of that drain. So we are here to discuss with Charles Yearwood, the head of the Drainage Unit, and we're hoping that he can give us some information about the good work that they're doing and how much more they have to do. And certainly we want to include the Barbadian public in finding some of these wells, as well as drawing to Mr. Yearwood's attention this morning of any drains that you may know that might be impacting you or probably going to be a problem for some people walking the streets. Charles Yearwood. Mr. Yearwood, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Good, thank you. Welcome and hello.
Okay, welcome to you. And we do have another person with us. Sir, can you introduce yourself?
Hey, good morning. My name is Dazan Whitehall, Technical Officer 2 of the Drainage Division.
Okay. So, Mr. Yearwood, I'll start with you. You saw the video.
Yes,
What
I did.
are your thoughts on these wells across the island?
Yes, first of all, it's unfortunate. The well was indeed a stormwater well. However, in the context of wells in Barbados, they're wells used for different purposes. And we have, I think that most of the wells are for the drains water off roads or within water courses or floodways. The other wells used, which are public wells, which are private wells, used for disposal of sewage or wastewater from kitchen and baths. And then we also have wells that are used in the agricultural sector. They're used for the use of irrigation, pumping water from the aquifer to irrigate agricultural lands. And there are also a couple of wells used on a few recreation facilities, golf courses, polo fields. So in the context of wells, we're here to discuss whether all wells are concerned, if they are open or provide a risk to the public, the stormwater wells. In Barbados, we have in the Drainage Division, sorry, not unit really, we have an inventory of just over 4,100 stormwater wells. It's already the function of the Drainage Division is to reduce the impact of flooding. Therefore, you have looked towards flood mitigation. And going back to the well, though, a number of these wells were done by private developers. And there's sometimes when the older wells, particularly, we didn't have as much monitoring and scrutinizing of the development plans, so that when you observe what was looking there, you see the steel is thin, the cover is thin. A concrete cover can be provided, but it's not to the standard to withstand vehicles and the like. You see the areas open. We all know that vehicles travel the road. We see large trucks park off the road, and they provide a loading to the on top of the well case and the well cover. The well cover zone should take this way, but over time, where persons clear land, we've had persons complain of clearing lands and damaging the well cover. So we need to, the public, our eyes, we have 3 inspectors across Barbados, and we need the eyes of other persons to also assist us where they find these. But it's really our sole responsibility, Drainage Division, Ministry of Transport Works and Water Resources, to identify these threats and resolve them.
So you're saying that we can have covers. They're supposed to be covered. That's what
Yes,
they're
all.
supposed to be covered. And the
Yes.
responsibility for covering on the private wells would be that for the private person, and the public wells would be for the government. Is that what?
Yes, all stormwater wells is remit of the Drainage Division within Ministry of Transport Works and Water Resources.
All private or public?
No, all stormwater wells within the roadway, to say that.
Within the roadways,
Or within-
okay, I'm sorry, the
water
responsibility.
courses. And we also take some, we remediate or might install wells within water courses to reduce water flooding downstream. But there are also other land, I should say, there are also wells on agricultural lands for which the landowner, the plantation need to maintain.
So when we are walking on the streets of Barbados,
Yes.
we tongue or we fall through a drain, so to speak, or it's not level, because you know that sometimes it can flip the rails.
Yes, yes.
It's unfortunate that it happens. And what happens then? What do you do? What does a person do when that happens and they're injured? Apart from calling medical help, of course, after that, with the
Yes.
drain. Who
Well,
do
to
you
report
it
report to the permanent secretary or the chief technical officer, Ministry of Transport and Works. Of course, we have staff that go out and clean drains and light, and some of these are brought up. We also have the road section. We have 13 depots across the island, and they are responsible for reconstructing or fixing these as well. There are many of them, of course, and we also have a demand. The public requires that, and we need to have safer roads, so we provide sidewalks. And so over time, we increase the length of sidewalks across the island to separate pedestrians from vehicle traffic. And it is, as you increase the sidewalks, you have more facilities to maintain, and this of course brings the pressure on staff and also on other resources.
So as you know, we are at the start of hurricane season, and we obviously need to clean a number of drains. I know that some Barbadians assist in their own neighborhoods cleaning the drains. Have you started that, and is that something that is seasonal, or is that ongoing job that the drainage division would normally do? Because I see there's always a mad rush around hurricane season, especially when we know that something is coming. Then we see people trying to rush out there to clean the drains. So what is that program like? Is it every week, or is it only seasonal?
Yeah, you have the look. First of all, we look in terms of, let me explain in terms of the requirements for flood mitigation. The drainage division operate as a department of government, which open 12 months a year, 5 days a week. In fact, we work right on the clock, whether it's flooding at night or during the day or the weekend, we respond. So work is not only in the Monday to Friday. We're looking at flood mitigation. We look at areas which are flooded and for which we have a solution and the capacity to implement that solution. So on the one hand, you have flooding that is known through complaints. Flooding is identified through monitoring immediately after rainfall and flood event to find these places that flood. And then we identify these locations. You identify whether they're nuisance flooding or structural flooding. Nuisance flooding here, where you have water less than, say, 8 inches a foot high, and one can walk through. Where you have structural flooding that impact floor levels, habitable spaces of houses or of the floors of commercial and industrial buildings. Then we have to look towards mitigation. Well, you might identify the solution. You might identify a solution for a number of them. So you might find 20 serious ones in a year. We may not have the money to do it, so what we do is to put a plan towards flood response, but at the same time towards what resources we have to mitigate that flooding or prevent that flooding, and then move towards, over time, over the next year, 2 or 3 years, program it in our budget to get it solved.
Okay. We do have we do have a caller on the line, and we're hoping that they have a question to direct to you, Mr. Yearwood. Caller, welcome to
Yes,
Face
good
It and Fix
morning.
It. You're on
Good
the air.
morning. The question I have is, who do these wells belong to? The person that owns the land or government?
So you want to repeat that again?
Who do the wells belong to? The person that owns the land or government?
She's asking who do the wells belong to? The government or the person that owns the land?
The wells used for taking runoff or storm water, flood waters off the road or go through water courses is remit of the drainage division. When it's within the roadway. So the roadway here is not the carriageway, it's the roadway plus the sidewalks. Some may be also on lands, but when someone purchases a portion of land, it may have a well beyond that point, and there's a drain running from the road to that well. Then it's our is the responsibility of the drainage division.
Oh, I see. Caller, does that answer your question? Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Now, I know of individuals, and I want to get back to the drains in parts of Bridgetown and other areas. And there have been people who have complained and have been injured because they were not properly secured. So what can a person do if it is proven that they have been injured as a result of the drain not fitted properly? Is there ways and means of some sort of compensation for them once it is proven that they were indeed injured by the lack thereof of the drains not being secured?
Yes. Well, there's a complaint section, but I said to you earlier, the injured person affected by the drain in any way, by property or damage to property or injury to themselves, should write the permanent secretary or the chief technical officer, Ministry of Transport and Works and Water Resources. And there's a complaint section will go out, take the information, seek to have medical bills and the like, and complain, and the risks associated. And then we have a legal section that deals with resolution to that issue.
So if I make a complaint of a drain and that is not secured or even a well, what is your service standard? Okay, we'll be back after this break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. Before the break, I was asking Mr. Yearwood a question, and it's about your service standards. If I'm calling about a drain, if I'm calling about a blocked drain, I'm calling about a drain that's not covered, I'm calling about a well, how soon do you respond to my complaint, and then how soon can I expect to have that rectified according to your service standards at the drainage division?
Yeah. Well, there's a complaint desk where we take the complaint and logs them. The complaints are categorized in terms of those that are priority 1, very serious, where you might have open wells, we may have flooding that affect habitable affect houses. Moreover, people can't get out there. The occupants can't get out of their houses except to go through flood waters. If you have a drain where you have flooding, but the water goes off, say in a half an hour, and we look at all the complaints, we may very well decide that this one, the no cover at all, we spawn the same day to get at least it barricaded, ensure it's safe, and then we do an inventory. Now, the maintenance of wells is done under contract with the private sector. So we have in the order of 18 well contractors across 3 districts, and they do the work. The performance or the attendance service standard has to do with the performance, their performance of each contractor as we issue wells. So we issue a number of wells, 5 wells or so, to each contractor, and as he finished one, we go to another. Sometimes while we issue work, we may have to give him another one that comes up, because on a monthly basis or weekly basis, we recognize that you may have a well identified without a cover, and that goes immediately then to priority one, and you may have to ask the contractor to move on that one over and above others we've issued earlier. In terms of the manholes, again, we work through the depot systems for maintenance, and we report to them and ask them to do it. We expect some, if it's not totally corrected, that there be some kind of barricade to that opening so that we can avoid injury to persons.
So, okay, so let me see if I can go back and understand. The stormwater wells you're talking about comes under the
Yes.
drainage division. Are there any
Yes.
other types of wells that we see out there that, what category of type of well that falls under? So every well that I
No,
see,
all-
including the one in that video, is a stormwater well?
No, stormwater
Okay.
wells are wells that take water runoff. When you have rainfall and
Okay.
water on the road running, then that's stormwater or runoff. And water from the road to this well is disposed of in the well. So the
So
purpose of the well,
this is a stormwater well because it's a few
Yes.
feet away from,
yes,
okay.
you see the
Okay.
grating. You see the grating in the road. It takes water through the grating into the manhole and conveys into the well.
And this should be covered, and this falls under your
Yes.
department?
Correct.
Okay. So now that we're seeing the video and we have an idea of the location, we could expect that something like this that is so close to the road to activate a team to have that covered. Okay.
Yes, I already have the works done. The inspector visited already. We have the works to be issued, and we issue the works.
Okay, so Desan Whitehall, your technical officer, give us an idea of what a regular day for you is like. What is your role in the drainage division?
Thanks. More or less, I assist in the management of the department. My main focus is flood mitigation, but also consultation with town planning for developments, proposed developments. So when the plans come to town planning, they're sent to our department, and that's the engineering details, the stormwater plans, environmental impact assessments, and so on. And more or less visit, make a decision on the viability of the proposed solutions for development. Because when we are assessing these proposals, we try to mitigate the flackers or that this development does not cause flooding in the particular area or affect the adjoining landowners.
Oh, okay. We do have a caller. We're going to take this call, and then I want to ask a question to you, Mr. Yearwood, pertaining to the other types of wells that we didn't get to answer. Good morning, caller. Welcome
morning.
to Face It and Fix It.
Yes, please. What I would like to know is what is being done about the new water courses that are coming up now because of new development? There are places that never flooded before that are flooding now.
Mr. Yearwood, did you hear the question?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I did. Again, there was a time when the assessment of private developments was not as intense as it is today. We recognize over time and the improvement of the knowledge of technology, we are able to have photos, we have old plans, we have old maps, we have reports. but you need to revisit the areas and identify the potential flood effect for a particular portion of land. In a development, the design is the responsibility of the developer. And like Desan said earlier, he does the stormwater impact of the development, both the development on the land and the land on the development. There are times when there's no defined water course because we'll look for a area where it can go through like a bushy area and it's below ground. Much of the water may be sheet flowing, so it's just flowing on the land without a defined channel, but it's flowing like a sheet all across the land. Some areas have depressions, and these depressions are filled or predominantly filled, shallow, less stormwater impoundment, and they cite some of the lots on these. We have developers as well who, when they go in and build their houses, they will concrete all around their houses and have increased runoff. So there are a number of factors that lead towards flooding in a residential development. There are also areas where we investigate. We give an example, Goodland. The Goodland is in like a soup bowl. The water gets into Goodland, it doesn't drain towards the sea. But the elevation of the land is about 7 meters, 25 feet or so. But the wells are shallow and cannot take the volume of water going to them. So the residual water, the wells can't take the water, the storm runoff. And then they're on the land waiting until the wells can take the water, infiltrate the wells. Those kind of areas we're looking for solutions. We're looking for lands where we can create depressions that take the water off the road and away from the houses. But it's becoming difficult because we're then asking private landowners or have to buy the land to create the depressions to create mitigation measures and to reduce the flooding.
So that would be the case for Goodland. You said the solution would be what for Goodland? Is that something that you'd have to wait until they can hold?
Yes. They have a number of wells in there, but the wells, if you allow the water to get from the outer watershed, there's a limit, a portion of land that floods Goodland. Not only Goodland water, the rain falling over Goodland goes into Goodland. The areas of Lower Carter's Gap, this is not happening. Some of the other areas on Saints Court. So
Gibbons
we need to
Bogs.
get Gibbons Bogs. We need to provide additional wells close side of Goodland to take the water that would otherwise go to Goodland. And these are plans with the similar area for Lowlands and for Tino Terrace and Warner's Garden. We are in the process of going through mitigation plans for a number of wider areas that we have continual flooding. The well system isn't working because the wells can only take a certain volume of water. We need to provide lands off the road where the water, go back to the old principle of a depression. The role of depressions to take water and it drains off slowly. And it's only draining depending on the characteristics of the rock. Some rock takes the water fast, some very much slower rate. So we have to, in some of these locations, and that's what we're doing new developments, asking the developer, no, this land is not the best space for land, or this portion of land is not super residential development, and they may cite the community space in the lower area, which can be used then for a twin purpose, a park and also for flood funding.
So can I ask then, okay, seeing that there are solutions out there, but obviously they're not immediate, is it safe to say that the drainage unit, together with a team to help pump off the water to ease some of the residents if they had flooding in the area, is that something that you do in order to give them some relief?
Before I answer that, it's not true. We do have plans that come back from way back, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years ago. We're enacting them over time. This year in March, we constructed 28 detention ponds. They were in water courses that flowed predominantly to the road. So as people drive, water comes from the water course onto the road and impact the road users. We've identified 70 of those sites, but 28 of the most critical ones we installed or constructed detention ponds.
I think Watson was one of those areas, correct? The
Yes,
retention pond,
Watton.
Murphy's
So Clifton
Pasture.
Hall, yes, Possum Bridge, Husbands,
Right.
Heartland, Extreme Village,
These are
Queensland,
things, okay, that have been more or less completed, or
completed in
okay.
March.
Well, that's excellent. I
But
mean,
quite a bit of planning went.
I would add to that because we do have flood mitigation plans in progress in the Constitution River and the Halls Road area. That also is in progress, and the Salt Pond Spikestown Phase 2 for the flood mitigation, that also is in progress and expected to be completed by early next year, the first quarter of next year. So there are a lot of plans
Yes.
out there, yes, for flood mitigation, but I'm just saying that until other things are in place, pumping off water for immediate relief until we can get to other,
Yes.
till you can get to other areas is something that Drainage
Yes.
Department can also do. Is that correct?
And it's part, yes. And that, I speak then earlier of, I try to answer your question first by looking at mitigation or prevention. When we have those areas then that we have a low priority or we come up over time, then we look at flood response. What do? We don't leave it. So we have our pump teams, and then we have pumps, and we go, and we do it regular. We do it a lot for Kingsland, for Watton. But we've still done work over time. You find that even when you've done work 5 years, 8 years ago, with climate change, there is the reality that some areas are, even though conducting mitigation measures, they were not sufficient in the context of climate change. You have greater intensity storms, or more water is falling in a shorter time. And these are what creating these flash flooding events. And the public may be not aware of climate change impact on flooding, and believe that and the expectations that what we've done before has not worked. It's not worked because the work we enacted 10 years ago did not have a climate change consideration. As we do our work now, we're increasing the capacity to take off more water. But if the intensity continues in the next 3 and 4 and 10 years, we then go back again and re-engineer those structures.
Well, we did have a WhatsApp, but I would probably read that is not really for use. Someone wants to know, why is their water always off in Orange Hill? As I said, I live in Orange Hill. My water is always off. Why is this? But this was coming up, and I believe I can direct that to the Barbados Water Authority. But in terms of the flooding that you used to see in the Sunset Crest area, do we still get that?
Well, along the west coast, there are for every bridge or culvert you come to, there's a separate watershed, or the drain to that area is unique. So when you start at Molyneux, you have about 5 culverts or bridges between Molyneux Road and Lime Grove. Mm-hmm. So when you have to enact work in each of those watersheds to have solution for the inner Old Town area. The USAID project, the Yellowstone Stormwater Management Project, the adaptation for climate change with the impact on stormwater, 2018. And out of it had recommendations. And the USAID went further than the study and provided money financing to enact some of the solution work, the recommendations. So the work you saw at Old Town 2 years ago, increasing the culvert, creating a wider drainage area within the green belt, is an effort towards taking the water off the public road and reducing the flood effect or the flood damages and impacts that people otherwise had. So to say that if you had the same level of rainfall tomorrow or later in the year than we had 4 years ago, we expect a flooding or no flooding at all on the roadway of Old Town.
Okay, and 2 more questions. The one that it asked you about what other types of wells can people stumble across, unfortunately, in the middle of a field? Or as you can see that other one, you said it's storm water. Are there other types of wells? And what can Barbadians do to help the drainage unit make your job a little easier in terms of coming across blocked drains, etc.? So I'll let you answer what other types of wells can people come across if they're not storm water?
persons stumble, and you say that we have moves towards making persons more healthy. There are persons who are joining hikes and joining tour groups off beaten track. It's important that persons who are doing these have persons who can go ahead before starting the walk and plan the walk to areas that are safe. Safe in terms of what is visibly seen and from the knowledge of landowners, so that can be routed towards the safe areas. But we would advise persons to walk often the watercourse and go hiking without speaking to landowners or knowledge of the wider area, community, because there are risks that persons in the community identify by going across. And there are many communities that walk through, connected through watercourses. But when you go to an area, not to do it. So the wells you're looking at is wells on plantation lands. These are agricultural plantations. Another agricultural use, another agricultural farms. You also have wells on golf courses and on polo fields. But that may be a bit more enclave, but at the same time, persons still have access apart from the regular entrances to these developments. So you have wells for pumping water, irrigation wells. You have wells on agricultural, on dewatering or take off flood waters from agricultural lands. And then you have wells on recreational spaces. All wells are concerned to us. Also wells on private residential units, because not every house or plot have a fence around it. And you know, persons have this idea of going across a track or going the shortest route.
So you see why it is very important then to do the campaign that we're suggesting together with you and MTW and all the parties to get the public involved. Help us to locate the wells, including those who are hiking. As you said, if they go forward first, to be careful. You know, it's easy to set up a WhatsApp number for a person to pin the area to send it to you guys so that you are aware. But not only to be aware, at least go to the well and put some caution tape around it. Put it out on social media so that all Barbadians hiking, wherever they're going, you know exactly where these wells are. They're marked. Until then, you can safely cover them. And that is the reason why we're holding the campaign. We're here to help. So we figured if we got Barbadians involved and we reward them, because we will be giving each person, something for their efforts. And so that we can have that information to share with you. We have one more WhatsApp message for you. That storm last week, they brought down a lot of gravel and stuff from God knows where, they said, and it's still in the road. What will happen with it with the next downpour of rain?
Yes. I should say to you in terms of all, the ministry is getting complaints of persons not moving the ash. And it is not so as in the past when with cutting, say, grass or so. In the asphalt program, we are purchasing thousands of bags. But apart from purchasing the bags and filling, they're being picked up. What we also have is that the teams are working so hard across the island that you have additional bags being put on a daily basis. To compound the problem, we have landowners also using similar bags and placing garbage on the road. So when we're taking the ash to take to a particular location, some of it and much of it has dead animals and have garbage. So we want to ask persons not to desist from doing that, because in the bags is not a garbage dump. Yeah, and so we are faced with complaints that are not the challenges really towards the program of taking the ash up, and the ash will provide some challenges this year if you don't get much of it off the road.
But I think they're talking about regular debris and some debris that would have been, piled up a bit after that freak storm in some areas. But that's the norm, I would imagine, after a storm, after bad weather, and you see the floods going down through the guttering and leaving rocks and garbage. We ask people, I would like, Mr. Whitehall, if you can answer that one. From a technical standpoint, we have drains. We have some on my road. We don't have a lot of flooding. Our neighbors come out and they try to clean up a little bit. Is it that the drains need to be deeper, as he was saying, maybe in Goodland they're not? Is that the case then because it can be deep but full of rocks and garbage, and then there's no help? to actually drain the water.
Not exactly. Some of the challenges that we have, it's good that you and your neighborhood and your neighbors come out and help keep the roadways clean and the verges and so on. But not everyone is so inclined. We have challenges with littering, persons cutting grass and blowing it all in the drains, blocking the drains. And it might not be a case of that the entire drain is blocked, but just the entrance to the drain. A simple thing as a plastic bag can cause a whole set of flooding.
Wow.
So it's not just as simple as making the drains bigger and that's the solution. It's how persons interact with their drainage system in their neighborhood. So if you have a neighbor that's building a house and have the gritty sand and so on right on the side of the road, a little rain and all that's going to wash into the drain. Then it makes any concrete and some of that washes into the drain. That's going to block it up and be fairly hard to move. So these are some of the challenges that we see when we send the contractors to clear the drains and fix wells and so on. Those are some of the issues that come up.
So basically, what we want to tell Barbadians is when you have drains in your roads, don't come down and sweep it and sweep the garbage and everything down the drains, because that happened with sewage boxes on the south. Some people were actually doing that. So, but I want to thank you so much, Mr. Charles Yearwood and DeSand Whitehall, for coming and explaining, and we look forward to the well program with you. And I look forward to coming back to showing the video of that well fixed in St. Philip that you just saw earlier. Want to thank you both.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back. In our next segment, we know vaccines are a big deal now for everyone. It's a big topic, and we wanted to bring on Dr. Elizabeth Ferdinand, public health specialist and coordinator for the National COVID-19 Vaccine Campaign. You've seen her on your TV from time to time. You've heard her pleading and begging with you to please be patient. You'll get your vaccine. But now I'm sure she's seeing a different side of Barbadians. A lot of people had a vaccine, but now we're making several pleas for people now to come forward to get their vaccine. We also know that we're receiving a number of vaccines from China. And the good news is that Cuba has been successful with their vaccine. And it'd be interesting to hear whether or not Barbados will be getting some of those vaccines from Cuba. Good morning, Dr. Ferdinand. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. And
you look well. You look well.
I'm trying.
Go ahead. So I just wanted to know what is the latest with the vaccines. If you could just start off to just tell us, if you have it, how many people have been vaccinated, at least both, and how many waiting the second vaccine? And then we'll talk about the vaccine bus that we're celebrating now this morning.
Yes.
What?
Okay. Thank you. Let me begin by saying that things are looking good as far as the first doses are concerned. We have delivered up to yesterday a total of 93,310 people have had their first dose, and that is encouraging. We have to reach roughly 200,000 adults. Okay, I'm talking about adult population. So we're nearly halfway for the first dose. However, the second dose, so far we have done 67,778 persons have had 2 doses. So those people are fully vaccinated. So roughly speaking, we have another 20-something thousand more to have their second dose. It is not that they haven't come up, it is that their time for the second dose is not quite up as yet. Okay, so we know most of them will be getting their second dose within the next 4 to 5 weeks. So that's the position with the numbers
So is
at
the
the moment.
appointment system working still? Or is it that you can just come and show up now? Or have we gotten to that stage? What stage are we at regarding, how do you
Well,
get it now?
okay. Well, at the moment, we opened an app on last Sunday asking people who were over 40 years could apply, and those are persons to get their first dose. So they could go onto the app and they can put in what we call populate it with their name, ID number, and all the particulars that we have to collect. And they can also at that time choose a site that they wanted to go and even what day they wanted to go. This is for people who want first doses, okay? And they're over 40. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to have a chronic disease or that you have some other illness. Anybody over 40 could apply at this website. And I know you're going to ask me what is the website.
Yes.
And the website is https:// vaccine, spelled vaccine.gov.bb. And when you go on there will be instructions as to how you should proceed and fill up the vacant boxes, okay? And that should give you an appointment as soon as you want it.
As soon as you walk in. We have a caller on the line, Dr. Ferdinand. Let's see if they have a question for you regarding the vaccine. Good morning.
Yes.
Face it and fix it. You're on the air. Good morning. Good morning, caller. All right, we may not have that person yet online. Okay, we're going to try to get back that person. So let me ask you point blank, because I know this is a question when I told people you're coming on, and I'm going to be very straight. Have you heard of any cases of persons getting violently ill since they had the vaccine, from the vaccine, other than the regular symptoms of a sore arm, 24 hours, maybe feeling a little fluish? Have we had any persons, to the best of your knowledge, that became violently ill after taking an AstraZeneca vaccine and
Okay,
died?
first of all, let me say that yes, we are using the AstraZeneca vaccine. So that's the only one that we have up to now.
Right.
And secondly, yes, we have had some cases that have been serious that we have and have begun to investigate. Now, let me explain to you that there is a website up by the Barbados Drug Service, put up by the Barbados Drug Service, at which all adverse events following not only drugs, but also following vaccines, and in particular this vaccine, because it is new. All right. So if you have an adverse reaction, even though it is a mild or moderate or severe, as the case may be, you need to report it on that website. You could also, of course, and if it is serious, you have to go to your doctor or back to the clinic, whichever clinic is in your area, and they will not only treat you, but they will also report it to that website at the Barbados Drug Service. Coming out of that, we have what we call an adverse event committee, of which I happen to be on it, but the chair of that committee is Ms. Miriam Hines, who is the director of the drug service, and the chief medical officer, Dr. Linda Williams, the head of BAMP, and different nurse, the chief public health nurse, and several other people are on that committee. And that committee reviews all the adverse events that are reported to that website. That committee then has what we call an investigative team that will go out and investigate any of the serious cases that in the opinion of the committee is serious or even moderately serious. And that team goes out and investigates it and brings back the findings to our committee.
So
the committee meets, yes.
No, are we talking about adverse effects outside of the 15-minute waiting period?
Oh, yes. It means all adverse events, not just the 15-minute.
Okay.
Yes. We've had other cases following the vaccine, and I don't want to pinpoint anything, but there have been some serious cases as a medical practitioner I would consider as moderately serious, not just the run-of-the-mill fever and a little sore arm. And we have had to investigate those cases. And why do we investigate the cases? We investigate the cases because we want to find out, could it have been caused by the vaccine alone? Or could it have been caused by other underlying factors that the person themselves have? For example, if a person gets a blood clot or a thrombosis, we call it in the legs or wherever, we look at it. Has that person had one before? How prone are they to getting blood clots? And then we look to see, could it have been the vaccine, or was it that they were standing too long, that they were driving in a funny position, that they've been, using that leg for doing something else? So that investigative team goes out and looks at the case, discusses it with the patient and also with the medical persons who might have treated them.
Mm-hmm.
So
I just
yes,
want to let's be clear so we don't people don't get the wrong impression. The adverse effects could be as mild as feeling the little fever, itching, allergy, and it could be, like you said, serious. Now, let me ask you, if you took the vaccine, let's say April 30th, and today being June the 23rd or 24th, excuse me, but almost the end of June, and you don't have any effects, would you then say that anything outside of that, after that time, probably would not be related to a vaccine?
Yes, I mean, it's been gone too long since the last
So
dose.
what time frame are we looking at in terms of linking it if something had to happen? What time frame are we roughly looking at in terms of saying, look, that vaccine happened 2 days ago or 2 weeks ago, let's see if we can link it? So what is an acceptable or one you can breathe a sigh of relief that it is not related to the vaccine is what I'm
Well, at least I think 5 to 7 days. Within that period of time, you should have developed some kind of symptoms or problems if it was in any way linked to the vaccine.
Okay, we're going to take this caller. Good morning, Face It and Fix It. We have Dr. Elizabeth Ferdinand on the air. Do you have a question?
Peace be on to each and everyone. My question is, I got my first vaccine last week, the AstraZeneca, and I want to know if when I go back, if I will have that same vaccine.
Okay, yes, you will get this. Well, when I say the same vaccine, you will get AstraZeneca. It might not be the same vaccine that it was made in this particular factory. It might be a different batch number, but you will get AstraZeneca. Yes.
Well, that is what I meant. I want to know if I get the same brand. Sorry
Yes.
for not
Yes.
explaining myself the way you did. But thank you very much.
No, you. Right.
That's okay.
I
Thank
am.
you.
What we are not mixing the vaccines. In other words, I'm not going to give you another type of vaccine when you've already had one different type. Okay, so if you have AstraZeneca, you will be getting AstraZeneca as your second dose.
So, what about the vaccines that we're supposed to be getting from China? This question from WhatsApper: how does the vaccine we're getting from China differ from AstraZeneca? And is it one dose or two doses?
Okay, well, it is different from AstraZeneca. There are different types of vaccines for this COVID-19. We can have what we call mRNA vaccines, of which Moderna and Pfizer are examples. We can have what we call inactivated vaccines, of which Sinopharm is one. Now, Sinopharm is the one that comes from China, and that is what we call an inactivated vaccine. And I will go on to explain those in a little while.
Okay.
But the third type of
I want you to explain that if you can, Dr. Ferdinand, in just 1 minute. I just want to come back right after this break, right after the break. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. For those of you who are now watching or joining us on CBC TV or on social media or on Q100.7 FM, we have with us Dr. Elizabeth Ferdinand, Public Health Specialist, Coordinator of the National COVID-19 Campaign. And I'm sorry to have to interrupt you before, but could you sort of backtrack a little bit and then continue with your point regarding the vaccine from China?
So are you saying that there are basically now 3 different types of vaccines that have been developed for COVID-19? One is the mRNA vaccine, of which Pfizer and Moderna are examples. Then you have the inactivated vaccines, of which Sinopharm is one, which is the Chinese vaccine. And then we have the viral vector ones, of which AstraZeneca is an example. So as you can see, we have been using the viral vector one, which is the AstraZeneca in Barbados up to now. We are supposed to be getting some Chinese Sinopharm, it's called Sinopharm vaccine, which is an inactivated vaccine. Now, what do I mean when I say inactivated? Inactivated means that they have taken the virus, which is the COVID-19 virus, and they have disabled it or made it inactive in some way or another. So they have inactivated the virus. But in this particular case, most, or if not nearly all, of the virus has been inactivated, except for a little piece of what we call the spike protein. Now, that spike protein has not been inactivated by the chemical that they used. Okay? So when they then took that inactivated coronavirus and they added what we call an adjuvant. An adjuvant is something that helps the virus or the particle to become more immunogenic. And they mix those two together and they made the vaccine with that. So when that vaccine is injected into people, it attaches itself to what we call an antigen presenting cell. It's like one of the cells in the body which gobbles it up and then all breaks it up into pieces. And a little piece of that spike protein is then swallowed up again by another little cell called a helper T cell. And that is the cell that stimulates the body to provide the immunology or to provide the defense against the disease. I know it's complicated, but you need to understand that the vaccine has been made inactive. So we're not giving you the disease, all right? We're just giving you the inactivated. If you're using that vaccine, you get an inactivated virus, but the spike protein, which is like a hair on your head, that protein then stimulates the reaction in the body when it gets into us.
So
Okay?
what are some of these side effects then of the Sinopharm, the one from China that
Yeah,
we have
the side
documented?
effects are, yeah. Now, let me begin by saying that a lot of studies in itself were not done in many of the countries. Because of the severity of some outbreaks, some countries decided to just start using it after maybe only 2 trials or so. But generally speaking, what they have found is that you're getting the same type of symptoms as with the other vaccines, which are fever, pain at the injection site, headaches, and fatigue, tiredness. Now, in addition to that, there are also a few cases of severe nausea, meaning nausea means you feel to vomit. And also they had a few cases of what we call encephalitis and a blood clot or two. And those were on the studies that they did. A lot has not been published on it, but this is what has been presented to the WHO and to other bodies for licensing. As of the 7th of May, the WHO has, presented and said it can be used for emergency use, which is, in other words, giving us the same authority as with all the other vaccines. So the WHO has approved it for use in emergency situations. However, to date, the European Union and the UK has not so far, as I am aware, approved it for use in an emergency situation. Okay, so that's the little distinction at the moment. It has been widely used in, of course, China and in certain parts of the Arab area and in the Seychelles Islands, and even in parts of some of Brazil in the early stages. So many countries have been using it, and studies have been, well, I won't say studies, but, adverse events and so have been being followed up by the different countries.
So so we're getting a shipment of this particular one that you're speaking of.
Yes.
And it carries the same clearance as AstraZeneca in terms of for emergency use.
WHO. As far as WHO is concerned, yes.
But it has not been around as long as AstraZeneca and Pfizer and Moderna. This is now coming out. How long has this been out?
No, the whole thing started way back in early 2020. In China, when they started to work on this particular vaccine, it was way back in 2020. They have been using it, as I told you, in the Middle East and different countries in late 20, early 21. But the WHO did not study what results had been put forward by the company, and the company is known as the Beijing Institute of Biological Products. And the WHO studied that, and they looked at it, and then they gave the approval on the 7th of May this year. So it has been used in many countries. And for example, in a country like the Seychelles, where they had very high coverage with the vaccine, that was the vaccine that was mainly used for that particular set of islands.
Okay. Before
There is-
you go on, because this is a lot of information and a lot of questions, I just want to make sure, because we do want to show the clip of you this morning and to do the positive things you were doing.
With the bus.
To be clear so that persons don't misunderstand and feel a little panicky, because you're a doctor, you need to bring the facts. But in the case where AstraZeneca, Sinopharm, and on all the other vaccines, even though their risk, is there any more higher risk than an average vaccine? Are the symptoms not very similar to other vaccines that have been around before, or is this something very unique and different that we're seeing with these vaccines?
No, I would say that the response to all of these vaccines, of course, I only have experience personally with the AstraZeneca so far, but from my readings and what we know is going on in the other countries, the most of the adverse events are similar. Okay? What we have to look at, and what we in the medical field look at, is the efficacy of the vaccine. How effective is this particular vaccine against the disease? And does it need one dose? Does it need two doses? Does it need a booster dose? So those are the kind of things that we in public health are looking at, because they're generally of the same safety standard. In this particular case, we know that AstraZeneca, we have to take 2 doses. And of this Sinopharm is the same thing, they need 2 doses.
The same time
only-
space in between? Same 3
Yes.
3 months, up to 3 months? Okay.
No. With the
10 to 12
Sinopharm,
weeks?
it is 4 weeks.
Apart.
You can take it 3, but it's 4 weeks apart. On the other hand, with AstraZeneca, initially it was 4 weeks apart, but further studies showed that the longer you waited between the first and the second dose, up to between 12 and 15 weeks, the more effective the second dose was. So that what we have been doing here, what we've been doing here is we've been trying to call people up at 8 weeks. Okay? 8 weeks between the first and the second dose. We have had to modify that sometimes to 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, because of the expiry date of the vaccines that we've had. So to fit everybody in at 8 to 10 weeks to 12 weeks, we couldn't manage it. So some people have been getting it at 7 weeks, some people at 8 weeks, but that's the general thing with the
It was
AstraZeneca.
varied. Understood. We're going to
Yes.
take a break. When we come back to, we want to show some footage of some of the good work that was happening this morning with the vaccine bus. We'll be back. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. We do have some video footage of the vaccine bus and Dr. Ferdinand. We're about to show that clip. Okay, we do have a clip after we show the one with the minister this
Since
morning.
we are here dealing with this vehicle which will be used in our vaccine rollout program, that interestingly enough, none of the persons who have tested positive from this company are vaccinated. None of the persons are vaccinated. And I would like to take this opportunity to urge persons to come forward, present themselves to be vaccinated. As long as we have the vaccines are here, our intent is to provide vaccinations for every single citizen and resident of this country. And it is absolutely important for persons to be able to present themselves and take advantage of this, because this is the only way and the best way, of containing and controlling the spread of this virus, so that we can breathe a lot better and be able to do the things that we are accustomed to doing.
Okay, we just heard from Minister Bostic, Minister of Health and Wellness, this morning, talking about how important it is to take the vaccine. Now, Dr. Ferdinand, hearing that, and it is important, but then from a medical standpoint, and this is why I want to be clear, and if we have to do it again, we will, because I looked at my phone during the break and some people were wondering, well, is it safe to take the AstraZeneca if there are so many adverse effects? And how many are we talking about, the statistics with AstraZeneca? So they're a little bit worried about our discussion because they want to be sure that they're going to be okay. Now, nothing in life is 100%. But of course, we look at the statistics. So if you have a committee and they're looking at the side effects, and particularly those in Barbados, would you say that they're alarming in terms of the stacks, or is it with keeping with what you would expect, or is it very, very minimum in terms of the side effects that you would have to sort of look at and go like, that's a little bit more critical or urgent?
Well, let me say, in my opinion, no, I am not alarmed by the response. I'm not alarmed with the number of cases that have reported to the committee. There are a few cases that have had allergies to the vaccine, and those people I have to treat very carefully for the second dose. But the allergies have not been life-threatening. We had one case with some skin allergies and some allergic, what we call the COVID arm, where around the area is very swollen and warm, and like cellulitis, and we have had some of those. So, but generally speaking, no, I am not particularly perturbed or worried about the safety of the vaccine, and I encourage everyone to come forward and get their vaccine. You just said it. There are people, or there are reactions to anything. I might take an aspirin and get an allergy, and yet millions of people take aspirin and nothing happens to them. The eating of shellfish, all of these things, and life is like that. But the vaccines are safe, and I encourage people to come and get them.
So basically what we're saying is, even though we don't have a lot of information about vaccines, because it's not been 2-3 years that we've been taking them for COVID, we do have enough information though to show that COVID-19 is deadly to the most vulnerable. And it is against that background that we would continue to encourage persons to take the vaccine, because I always say, look, when you build a house, you don't know if it's leaking until it rains. Similarly, you may think that you're healthy because you don't go to a doctor, but then all of a sudden you might catch COVID and then realize, oh my gosh, my kidneys, or I'm at stage 3 cancer, or stage 4. These are a lot of things that you don't actually know. And even when you go to a doctor, sometimes things are misdiagnosed. So do you want to take that chance and not take a vaccine to prevent yourself from COVID, because you're walking around go, oh, I'm doing all of my vitamins, and I think that's important. Exercise is important, but there are a lot of cases where people who do exercise a lot, but there's still something underlying wrong with them, and having COVID might just wake that up in a way that could result in your death. So I am not here, and I got to be very careful, because sometimes I'm accused of pushing the vaccine. But what I'm trying to say is to weigh your odds and make a decision based on the science based on the information, and it, of course, is what is best for you. And so I can't convince you, but I'm saying, like what I said about raining and the fact that you don't know when your house is leaking until it rains. Do you want to take a chance of catching COVID than to find out that something else is wrong with you, and then there's nothing more we might be able to do for you? So your thoughts on that in terms of encouraging people to take the vaccine, including the Sinopharm. There are people who are going to be skeptical, and let's be real, it comes from China. Some people may say, but that's the country that the vaccine came from. Why would I want to take that particular vaccine? But let's talk about the one from Cuba. Will be recipients, and I want to congratulate Cuba on their victory. Will we see, is it called Abidal? Will we see that vaccine here in Barbados as well as another option?
Well, at the present moment, I'm not sure. As I said, all we've been promised now is the Sinopharm from China. We are hoping to get our final tranche of our AstraZeneca from the COVAX facility, which should come in anytime soon. We are not privileged enough to know, well, next week we're getting this, and we can't be sure. So it's all, as Prime Minister said, it's in the open market, and it's difficult. So we have to wait and hope and pray that that all our vaccines come in soon. So we're going to get, I can't guarantee when, but as soon as is possible, Barbados will get their vaccines.
So
we have,
go on.
We have, as I said, we have our second shipment of our COVAX, which we're currently using, and we're waiting for our third shipment of the AstraZeneca. If we get the Sinopharm, we will also have that, and we can start using that as well. So then we will have two at the moment going at the same time. So if anybody wants to know, when they go to get their vaccine, they can ask, which vaccine am I getting? It will be written on their cards, so they will know what they have got.
So now that we have that vaccine coming, I understand this morning we have a vaccine bus. So tell us about the vaccine bus. What is that bus going to do? If I want a vaccine, would it come to my door type of thing?
No, well, yes and no. Let me say. The vaccine bus initially, we started first of all with the private doctors. A group of private doctors volunteered to help us with the persons who were shut in. So in other words, if people were over 100 or over 95 or were frail, people who are bedridden, those are the type of people who we go out and visit and give them their vaccine. And that started with a group of private doctors who volunteered their services. Then a company, Sagicor, offered us the use of a mobile bus. And this morning, it was handed over to us. We have used it, we have begun using it and testing it out already. And so the vaccine bus will be used to continue the work for shut-in patients. But we also have some other innovative ideas where we will be going and doing some pop-ups in certain areas of the country. I'm particularly going to target the parishes that we had low coverage from, for example, St. Joseph and St. Andrew. And I'm going to also target some of the areas like the fellas on the blocks, the bus stands, and places like that. And the bus will go out there on certain days and deliver vaccines to those who want it.
So you will be advertising. Okay, we'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. Remember the number to call 228-5563, 228-5562. And if you want to send us a WhatsApp message, 228-5562. We do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning to you.
Welcome to Face It and Fix It.
Good morning. Hello. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, you hearing me well now?
You need to turn off your TV, sir. Don't
My
look at
TV
the
is
TV
nowhere
if it's
near
bothering
me.
you and it's distracting you. Turn off the TV or
No,
just
I'm not
walk
listening.
away from it.
I am nowhere near any TV. Okay, my Dr.
Can you hear me
Ferdinand.
now? Just listen to your phone.
I have always been listening to my phone, Derry.
Oh,
Dr.
Derry.
Ferdinand, good morning to you, ma'am. I wanted
Go
to
ahead.
let I
You have a
wanted
question?
I wanted to let Dr. Ferdinand know, first of all, I value very highly the work that the ministry, when I say ministry, I mean the entire health service of Barbados, has done in this pandemic. They have done a fantastic job, and nobody could say anything less than that. However, there are a few. I have had my first shot last week, 2 weeks ago. I went to Sandals. I made an appointment. Now, my appointment was 10:30. I am almost 75. I don't want any special treatment, but I went there and I had to stand up in a long line. I had a 10:30 appointment. I got there at 5 to 10. Okay, fine. I waited outside in the hot sun with a number of elder people as well for quite a while, until somebody says, oh, this line is for first shot and that line is for second shot. Nobody was coming out and giving you any information. Then there were people, because Major Clark was very clear in stating, we are only dealing with appointments. That was clear. He made that absolutely clear. Why were they taking walk-ins at Sandals when I went as well here and there in between? That elongated the line and caused a delay in people waiting, right? So they need to be aware of that. If you're advertising something and it's appointment only, stick to the rules. It's not fair to the old people to go and stand up in a whole long line for almost an hour. That's number one. Number two, it was a question to Dr. Ferdinand really, which I don't know if she will answer or can answer. Why are we getting a Chinese vaccine at this point in time in life when we had, I presume under the COVAX by now, we have access to Johnson & Johnson, for example, which I know a number of people actually waiting to hope that they will get that in Barbados. Why have we gone now to a Chinese vaccine of all things? I also will finish by saying I am aware, because I have been following all of this, that Dr. Ferdinand, India is no longer shipping externally any vaccine due to their situation. I am also aware that the AstraZeneca we are currently getting in Barbados is either manufactured in Sweden or England. You can correct me if I am wrong. And the one I had was from Sweden. Okay? But I was one who was waiting and waiting. Okay? I thank
Okay,
you.
Dr. Ferdinand, your response?
Okay, quite a lot of questions.
Yes.
All right. Let me say that yes, we will probably not be getting any more AstraZeneca out of India, but there are several other factories that make the AstraZeneca. For example, one of our batches came from South Korea, okay, Sweden, and I think one might be coming from Italy, I'm not sure. So yes, it's AstraZeneca and it's made in different factories around the world, okay? So as I said earlier, have no fear. If we're giving AstraZeneca first, then we intend to give you AstraZeneca as your second dose, okay? Now, Why the Chinese vaccine at this time? I'm sorry, it's really, as they would say, above my pay grade. But I think I can only say I think it is because we are trying our best. The Prime Minister and her ministers are trying the best to get vaccines for us, and whatever they can get once it is approved by WHO, we will accept. So that is why I think that we're getting the Chinese vaccine, because that's the only one that is available to us. We have tried for Johnson & Johnson, as well as I really would like to get some Pfizer, so I can give the children between 12 and 18, because that is, at the present time, that is the only vaccine that is approved for children under 18. And at that, it is only 12 to 18 years old, right? So I really am pushing to get some Pfizer, as well as to continue with our AstraZeneca. So that's the second. The other one is, I'm very sorry and apologize for the long wait that you had. I know one day last week, Thursday, I think it was, we had, I think there was some overbooking of people. And so there were long lines, not only at Sandals, but at some of the other sites as well. People should have come out and explained what was going on. And I think that I need to maybe make sure and pass that on to the operators at the sites. All right. We are trying to keep to appointments, yes, and they are given priority usually. But how we feel about it in public health is if a person comes up for a first dose, the nurses are very hesitant to send that person away because they might not come back again. And in that case, we will be having what we call in EPI, in immunization language, a missed opportunity. So I'm not saying we grab everybody we can get, but that's the idea. Is if somebody really presents themselves, they want the vaccine, and there's any way that we can possibly give it to them at that point in time, we usually do. I am sorry for the wait, and we are trying our best with the appointment system to cut that waiting time down. But I'm going to tell you, Sunday and last week, Thursday, I was down at BIDC. And it's like Murphy's Law. You get one section working well, and then something happens, and a part of the whole process, something happens, and one part of that process falls down and causes a wait. And these are the kind of things that we have to try to perfect. It's not easy, right? So I apologize again for your long wait. All right, I think I've tried to cover everything that you asked, sir.
But let me ask you this so that we can reassure Barbadians, or it's only obvious that the Chinese vaccine Sinopharm would have been not only approved for emergency use by the WHO, the CMO and a medical team such as people like yourself would have to feel somewhat satisfied with the use of this vaccine. I'm asking, it doesn't happen just like the government just makes a decision. They obviously have to consult, follow the science, and consult with the chief medical officer as well. Is that not correct?
Well, I would imagine that the CMO was consulted. Yes, I would imagine that. But generally speaking, Barbados has taken the stance that we will accept any vaccine that is approved by the World Health Organization, because they're the ones through PAHO that we buy all our vaccines from normally. And even the COVAX vaccines that we are getting, that we have got, have come through PAHO. The only one that wasn't was the gift that we received from India.
Oh, okay. So I just want to get back to some questions pertaining to the bus, though. You say that it will be around various parts of Barbados for the shut-ins. So you'll still have the polyclinics. I mean, how are you going to continue the vaccine program? It started off polyclinics only. Then I understand that there were some persons that you went to their workplaces, for example, and they were vaccinated at a workplace. Are you continuing that you can be vaccinated at your workplace and just call and let a team come?
Well, no. we have to look at manpower and the best utilization of our manpower because they're in short supply. The other work of the clinic has to continue. We have to immunize the babies, the pregnant women have to be seen, people who have chronic diseases need to be seen on a regular basis. So the vaccine program has taken up some of the people who usually do that work, but we've tried to augment those people by what we call volunteers, right? So yes, the vaccine program has taken up some of the staff, but the rest of the clinic work is still continuing.
So the polyclinics
We
are
used-
functioning as polyclinics, and when I say as polyclinics, back to normal, 100%
I
doing the
would not
regular
say-
vaccines for other
Okay, well,
for children.
personally, I'm not in charge of the polyclinics anymore.
Okay, understood.
And but from my understanding, the polyclinics have tried to get back to as normal as possible. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Okay. And like this Saturday, we're having an extra special time in one of the clinics where all the children who haven't been vaccinated and and anybody else who have not been vaccinated for the regular vaccines, I'm talking about
Correct.
the polio, the DPT, and the HPV. And so they're opening a special clinic for them to come on this Saturday at Brantford Tate for those people in their catchment. So each clinic has done their own thing, Wednesdays at certain different clinics. So they have tried to do as much as possible their regular work. But I mean, it's not business as usual, as you can understand. It's not like it was before. Everything has changed, but we're trying to make sure that we cover the bases and we cover as much as we can that essential services. All right. Yes, we started with the polyclinics, and we used the polyclinics initially. Sorry,
No,
sorry.
go ahead, go ahead. There's a caller coming. There's a caller on the line. I just want to get that caller in.
Yes.
Good morning. Face it and fix it. You're on the air. Good morning. Try not to listen to your radio or TV. Go ahead. Okay, we've lost that caller. So I was asking again, the minister did say, and this probably does not pertain to you directly, but I believe he indicated with the clusters that we've been seeing that the persons that have been tested positive, they wanted to reassure Barbados, and if I'm not wrong, I thought I heard him say that they were not vaccinated persons. And I think people want to know, and again, this may not be for you to answer, but if you can, or probably Dr. Corey Ford when we have him on, do we have any cases on the island that had to be isolated, that were vaccinated, that tested positive for COVID-19 so far?
I think you're quite right. I think Dr. Ford or somebody else would have to answer because he's seeing the patients and he would know. But I can only comment on what Minister said, and it heartens me, if it is true, that nobody who was fully vaccinated came down with COVID. Nobody from Barbados who was
Correct.
immunized here
So
has
far.
come down with
COVID.
COVID. And that's good. That's wonderful. And if anything, that would more than encourage people to come
To go
forward
and get vaccinated, exactly. We have the caller on the line. Caller, the call dropped. Okay, we'll take a WhatsApp question. How long is the vaccine effective? 1 year, 2 years, 6 months? Do we have any more knowledge on that?
Well, I wish I could give you a full answer and a true answer. But the answer really is we don't know. This is a new vaccine, it's a new disease, and with these variants, we just don't know what is going to happen. So I can't tell you if we're going to have to do a booster next year or if the vaccine is going to have to be tweaked a bit and changed to adapt to the new variant. I don't know. So you'll have to, as they say, keep tuned, but
Stay tuned.
definitely not before next year.
We have the caller on the line. Caller, good morning. Face it and fix it. You're on the air. Good morning. Good morning. Well, we lost that caller, so we may have to hopefully call the telephone company to face that problem and fix it. But we'll see if we can get that caller back on the line. So we can continue now about the variants now and the fact that the vaccines that we have, you said we don't know. Do we have any evidence to suggest that AstraZeneca, for example, was not responding very well to any of the new variants? Do we have any data to say either way?
Yeah. Yes, I found some data about that. Now, I can only say I found the data about the Delta, which is the one that is the Indian variant. And the study in the UK showed that if you have one dose of AstraZeneca, it was 71% effective against it. And if you had 2 doses of AstraZeneca, it was as high as 92% effective. All right? And that was effective. The efficacy was as far as the severity of the corona disease would be and hospital treatment. So in other words, they might still get the disease from the Delta, but it would be very, very much less severe and it would not necessitate hospital treatment. When they looked at the Pfizer, they found it was higher with the Pfizer against the Delta. They found that people who had only 1 dose was 94% effective, and those who had had 2 doses, it was 96%. But there's no study really on how the other vaccines are faring and performing against the Delta. All right? So we just have to, again, I say, wait and see.
Wait and see.
And that's
Another
situation.
question I had from someone who spoke to me this morning personally, the question of the mask wearing and protecting yourselves and protecting others, and you're vaccinated and your friend may not be vaccinated, and he or she comes over to your house and you're insisting that they wear a mask, but you had double dose. For example, I had my 2, put my hands up, I took 2 for the team, so I had my vaccine. So let's say a friend comes over and he or she didn't have the vaccine, but I'm saying, no, you gotta wear your mask. Why am I should be so scared of a non-vaccinated person? Shouldn't the non-vaccinated person be more scared of everybody else, including me? Because I can still get the virus, but I won't die from it, according to the
Right,
science.
that's very sensible. You are wonderful, you know. You have it right down pat. You have it right. That person is taking a chance and should not be coming over and not be vaccinated, right? But you are in your right to say to them, if you're coming to me, you must wear your mask and do the social distancing and so, because may still be able to get the disease even though you're fully vaccinated. So there's a likelihood that you could get it, and then he or she would have it, and then you would probably get it from them, and you wouldn't get it as severe, but you could possibly still get it. So in all rights, we have to continue wearing our masks. We have to do our hand washing and our social distancing as much as possible.
And we got to take a call right now too as well. Face it and fix it. Good morning. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Diane.
Good morning.
To you and the doctor. I just heard Dr. Ferdinand speak about shortage of personnel, staff. I want to ask her this. Is it not possible to get some of those graduated nurses from BCC to go around or to go in the various places to help and giving them a small salary or a stipend so as to fill that breach where there is a breach, to work with the doctors and the polyclinics and whatever. And those nurses who have done the BCC and now waiting to do the regionals or have done the regionals. Is that not possible to bring in some of these people to complement who is already there?
I can only say that it's a good proposal, but that's really out of my hands. The ministry has to make that decision, and it would have to be the ministry nursing professionals really who put forward the idea. I don't know how long a time is between their graduation and them starting work, but there might be some who could be brought on. I really don't know.
Okay, thank you so much, caller, for that question. So we're getting back to
What I could say though is that the vaccination program has reached out to the retired public health nurses, and many of them have come on board and are working at many of the sites throughout the island. So we have people who are not fully working, as I say, retired people who have volunteered and come on board.
Okay, we're going to take this other caller now. Good morning, Face It and Fix It. You're on the air.
Good morning again to Ms. Haig and Dr. Ferdinand.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. My first question is really this AstraZeneca for the first shotters right now. Would there be enough to be given for the second shot? Because I know that maybe the quantity that they would have gotten for this these vaccines now might not be as much as what they initially had for the first set of vaccines. I'm just wondering if they would have enough for the second shot.
Yes, we have enough for the second doses of the AstraZeneca.
Okay.
We have got those cordoned off and waiting for you all to come and get them.
Okay, great. This would be for I'm talking about this this first shot now. I mean for the first shotters now. Okay.
Yeah, well, the people who the people who were vaccinated in February and March, those people should have come up and got their second doses already. That was from the Covishield that we got from India.
One that's going
so
on
those
now,
have been
like June. Yeah.
No, they're finished already. Those vaccines ran until the end of May. So all of those have been used.
Right.
We are now using up our second second batch.
Right.
Ended in the end of this month, June, the 30th of June.
Right.
We're nearly finished those at the moment. But we have another batch which goes on to the end of August.
Okay.
So some of the people who are being done, some of the first doses who are being done now will get their second dose from the August batch.
Okay.
And we've put aside enough of those for those who've all had the first doses.
Okay.
So do not be concerned about that.
Right. I wanted to find out about that. But another thing is I am a recipient of angioedema, and I want to say that initially I would have checked my doctors out, my ENT. I would have known how to manage my angioedema for many, many years. And I know that I had to have my vaccine done in a clinical setting as opposed to a center or so on. But I just wanted to say that I had my shot done and everything went well. I didn't have any adverse effects, so to speak. I just had a slight little pain at the injection site days after, but so far so good. So anybody with angioedema or having, really bad allergies that can cause you to have an anaphylactic shock or whatever, maybe they can, go and take the chance and get the vaccine done. But so far so good.
Okay, thank you for
Fantastic,
that. I'm glad
fantastic.
it went
I can say that with even myself, I didn't have any side effects, but of course I took paracetamol right away and every 4 hours. And I can tell you, I did have problems with my left arm. It was hurting me before the vaccine. I said, you might as well give me the shot here because this is already messed up from being frozen. So right now I'm suffering from frozen shoulder, but in my mind, I was just wondering, and I'm not asking a question, but I have to figure this out because there's some people who said it had some soreness and it lasted longer than some. So I was wondering if my vaccine contributed to an increase of my frozen shoulder, but then I recognized that I was not exercising, and it's not the vaccine. I don't blame the vaccine. I'm supposed to get up and exercise. We got another call. Final call. Good morning. Face it and fix it. You're on the air.
Hello, good morning, Diana. Good morning to the doctor.
Good morning.
How are you doing
Morning.
today?
Very good, thanks.
It's
You?
nice to hear you.
Nice to hear you too.
Yes.
Nice to hear you, Marcel.
Oh, Jay had to call my name.
First name business, Dr.
Yeah.
Ferdinand.
I
Go ahead,
know you, but
Marcel.
I don't know you.
Pardon me?
Go ahead. Go ahead with the question.
Yeah, the question to you, Jay, is to the doctor too is, I have a friend who had a vaccine on April the 25th, and up to now that's the first one she had, and up to now she hasn't have received an email, neither did she get a call from anyone saying that she's ready to get the second one, and this is April the 25th. And
Yeah,
tomorrow is
Dr.
June the
Ferdinand, yeah.
26th.
What was wrong with the appointment system? Because before I got mine too, I put in my name and my daughter's name, and I mean I got it, but not through the system
Yes,
that
yeah.
was there before,
Okay.
and it's still
Well,
waiting for a
Marcel,
call.
you
know?
tell, I'm going to touch on that in a minute, but Marcel, you tell your friend or person to go to where they had the first one. Make sure it's still in operation. And go. It's time for her to get the second. Let her go up and get the second one, even though she doesn't have an appointment. Okay? She's
Okay,
probably
Dr.
gone.
Ferdinand.
Anyway,
Yes. We just want to say thank you. I'm just going to give you the final word, encouraging persons to vaccinate. If you can do it in a minute.
yes, I mean, we've proven that nearly half of our population has been vaccinated. Come forward, come and get it. We have vaccines that you can get, so please come forward. It's important that you do so that life can return to normal and we can have a happy, healthy Barbados.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ferdinand, and I want to thank you for the good work. You do excellent work. Thank you so much. We'll be back
That's
after
all
the
right.
break.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. We certainly are very appreciative of Dr. Ferdinand's time. She's done some excellent work and continues to do that type of work. And I believe, I heard she was in retirement, so I'm not quite sure, but God bless her for doing what she's doing, and Major Clark, and to all of the workers, frontline workers, nurses in the polyclinics that work so hard to make sure that we are safe and getting our vaccines. And I am for the vaccine, and again, I hope that you weigh all your options and you make the best choice for you and your family so that we can return to normal. Now, we do have a video that someone sent to us, and we were supposed to have the Barbados Water Authority on a Monday, but they had some technical problems with their setup, and they were going to join us on Thursday. We want to show you some video that was sent to us of a major burst in Licorice Village in My Lord's Hill. It started on Monday. I believe it was repaired yesterday, but burst again. or should I say it's leaking a little bit further down. And we wanted to share this with you because we're sharing it with the Barbados Water Authority. We want to encourage you to send in your information about things like this: burst pipes, potholes, problems with maybe your NIS, problems with your registration, and all the other problems. But we're going to show you this clip. Okay, so we're having some technical difficulties with the video, so I'll describe it to you. It's a fairly big burst in My Lord's Hill in Licorice Village. Water Authority, I know you are monitoring the show, so it's the same place you went yesterday on Wednesday. You do have to return. When I saw the footage, it was actually the hydrant that is next to it that is now leaking. And I want to put some information out there to persons maybe who are wondering about burst pipes in your area. I was having a conversation about the amount of pressure that can build up in your pipe. And sometimes you will have a burst in a wall and you do have to pay for the leak. But when Water Authority comes, and this is one of the questions that we're going to ask them early, as to whether or not the pressure reducing valves, the things that measure the pressure on the outside, if that actually can contribute to some of the bursts that you're having in your walls. And that's something we need to talk about and to look at. So do we have the video now? Okay.
Good morning.
So
good morning.
This individual and this is in Licorice Village, My Lord's Hill. So this was what was actually repaired. So this is a photo of what was repaired yesterday. The one that we had before was thousands of gallons of water. So Water Authority, there it is. Is that yes, this is the amateur who's taking this. So yes, this was the big burst, and a number of rocks had to be put on top of it in order to keep it down. So thousands of gallons of water, that was running from Monday. It was repaired yesterday. We do plan to ask the Water Authority about their service standards as it relates to pipes and how soon do they come to repair. And it's going all the way down by the houses. And that was for running for a good few hours. As I said, we knew about it on Monday, and we understand it was repaired yesterday. But in another video now, if we can get that one, there's another burst right next to it going down, further down, and the person who's taking the video is walking, and he's going to walk and make his way down to what is referred to as a hydrant. And in a minute or so, you will see him walking to the hydrant, and that would be able to show you now exactly Water Authority where the second leak has occurred. Now, what happened? They probably might have turned off something at the hydrant, or he's walking towards the hydrant right now. And in a couple of seconds, then you're going to be able to pick up the second burst. And there it is. And the water is actually pouring out of that hydrant right now. So BWA, we look forward to having you on Monday to address a number of problems. And we are hoping that we can discuss the time that it takes now with the service standards to repair the burst. Also to ask you about the pressure in pipes, because people do have to pay for the burst, but you also have to recognize that if you have too much pressure in the pipe or in the system, it can actually explode pipes in persons' homes. I know of situations, I believe it was in the St. George area a couple of years ago, that the pressure was too high. So you do have to monitor that from time to time. So those are some of the questions that we're going to ask BWA. But we also want to tap back now to the WELL program. And how, so we are going to hopefully put people to go out there and be safe, to take a picture of the well nearest you. We are not asking you to leave St. Philip to go and find the wells in St. Lucie, so please do not do that. It's a simple task, and we want you to be safe. So if you know that there's a well in your area, and you know it's been there for years, and you know it needs covering, and you know that the children are playing near the area, take a pic. You don't have to go right up.
Come down in St. Philip.
You don't have to go right up to it. You just have to take a picture of the actual well. I do believe that that may not be the footage that we are talking. Oh, there it is. I believe that water was in the guttering too as well. There it is. That is the well. Now that person is actually very close, and because he was working out there, So we're not asking you to go that close. All we're saying is take a picture, pin the area, send it to our WhatsApp 2285562. You can send them all this week, and you will be rewarded for your efforts. We will tell you what exactly you will be getting. I don't want to call it winning because it's not a competition. It is about creating an awareness for all Barbadians, letting us know where the wells are. We will then highlight all of the wells here. We're going to ask the agency in charge to tape the well and secure it until they can actually put a cover on it. Again, I wanted to repeat, a year ago, July 4th, we had an incident of a young man in the Pine who lost his life, and I think it's, July 4th will be a year. And all of the other wells, thank you very much for that information. If you see me nodding my head from time to time, we do have this gentleman, very nice man, whispering into my ears from time to time. So again, that well program is coming up, and we will tell you about what you're going to receive when you take the pictures. Now we're going to talk about the time we have left is the summer school program and what you think about it. We've seen some teachers and some comments. I read one last night. Teachers are pushing back about the summer school program, and they work hard, but these are not normal times. So I don't think it is unreasonable to ask, and no, I said ask. It may be unreasonable to demand, and I don't think it was a demand. I believe that they do have a choice. Please, someone can call and correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe it's a choice that you may have to extend the summer program with the teaching. The children have lost a lot of valuable teaching time. Even my daughter Sky, and Sky, good morning, she's watching. It gets to them, they can't go out. A lot of persons are they've gone back a little bit, they've regressed a little bit. So you can share your thoughts with us on WhatsApp. You can share your thoughts with us on Facebook if you are watching via social media. What do you think? And we will read it during maybe at the next show. We're also going to invite officials from the Ministry of Education. We're going to do that before the actual 11+. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear if the teachers feel that the children are actually prepared to do the examination. Again, we want to invite the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. I am really anxious about the QEH because we have a number of persons that are waiting to ask some questions regarding some scheduled surgeries that they have. And we are hoping that the QEH can help them one by one. So I want to thank you again for tuning in. For those of you watching us on TV, those of you listening to us on radio or on social media, we'll see you again on Monday, same time, same place on Face It and Fix It. Goodbye, everybody. I'm going to get accustomed to you whispering in my...